sort of start at the beginning because I know this is obviously a very traumatic situation for you. It was somebody's birthday, I think, right? You guys were all in Montana kind of just for the weekend, right? Is that how this went
No,
down?
we live here. So it's just a pastime for us.
Oh, okay. So this was this the first time you guys were on a river tubing and kind of doing this thing?
The first time on the Jefferson River, we normally go on the Madison, which there are two
Okay.
rivers pretty close together.
It was
And
my
then,
second time. Sorry, it was my second time and within like a 2-week period. So it was a nice quiet river, and I thought it would be a nice new river for them to try. And that didn't turn out to be the greatest idea.
so whose birthday was it?
Jen's.
Mine.
Your birthday? Okay.
Yeah.
So start from the beginning.
So we decided to go to the Jefferson River, like Leila said, it was a new river. People float it all the time. We just had not personally done it yet, Stephanie and I. Leila had floated the week before, I think, Leila, and had no issues. Cool spot, less people. So we just decided to go there after work and do just an afternoon celebration float for my birthday. This was in August 2nd, and middle of the summer. It was, it stays light until like 10 o'clock here. So we didn't think too much about floating, after work, getting out there. I think we started like around 5:30 or 6. So we started floating, and gosh, girls, I think it was 2 hours in, I think. It was kind of overcast that day. So it was cloudy and a little bit darker than normal just because of all the clouds. But we were just floating. No one else was out there, which was kind of weird. It was kind of a weird, ominous kind of feeling. So we were like, oh, we might end up getting out of the river a little bit later than planned. But we just decided to go for it anyways. So we were floating down, and Leila and I were sharing a tube that were kind of we were facing opposite each other, but so we could look at each other to talk. And then Stephanie was in a tube tied on to us, just right next to us. And we were just talking and hanging out. And then I remember kind of looking over Stephanie's shoulder and seeing this creature in the water, and I didn't have my glasses on. And if I don't have my glasses, I can't see distance. So I was like, whoa, is that an otter? I was thinking that's super crazy because otters at the time were my favorite animal. Not anymore, but they were. So I thought it was cool. And before I could even get the words out of my mouth that there was an otter behind Stephanie, I believe, and it all happened so fast. So girls, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one came up from underneath and actually bit Stephanie kind of on the lower back area.
Oh my gosh.
And when that happened, it was just kind of chaos because no one knew what had happened, why she was screaming. I mean, I saw the one otter out in the water, but I didn't see any others. I had no indication there was anything else. So it had popped her tube, I think, at the same time, right, Steph? And then when that happened, I mean, you get that reflex where you're trying to push your body away from danger. And when I did that, I went on the edge of the tube and I just fell backwards head first into the water. And from the moment I was in the water, something was biting me or scratching me. It was just under the water. There was something up at my face. I remember I could see it kind of almost like a snake would strike, but it was the otter, and it was it would just strike at me and it would bit my cheek. And I remember thinking, wow, that really sucks. That's not going to look good. That really hurt. And then I remember it bit the other side, and all at the same time, it's pushing with its little claws, on your shoulders, trying to drown me in the water. And I remember breathing in water and just getting really scared and thinking I couldn't touch. I'm not a great swimmer. But when it was doing that, I just thought of my kids, and I was thinking it was almost a prideful thing, honestly. I didn't want my kids to hear that their mom drowned in a river by an otter, because that sounds really stupid. I didn't want them to find that out. And so I just got really mad. Um, Tried to fight back, but every time I would try and kick or punch, it would just bite me in that same
Oh
extremity
my
that was like
gosh.
trying to defend myself. And so eventually I just thought if I can hold it away from my body, it'll stop. I was just thinking about my face. Like I was thinking protecting my face because I had already taken two really big bites to my cheeks at that point. So I kind of like grabbed it at the shoulder joint, and I just thought if I can straight arm it far enough, like it'll bite my arms, but it won't bite my face anymore. And so while I did that, I was able to use my one free arm and kind of like back swim towards the shore. And I had no direction about me. Like I didn't know what, like where my friends were, what side of the river I was on, because I had been under the water. So when you come up, it was just total chaos. But I was able to get to the shore, and once I did, I was kind of on my hands and knees trying to crawl up the bank. And Stephanie, and she'll share this too, but she told me she saw it was like hooked into my head behind me with its claws. And she said when I was standing up out of the water, it was still like down to my waist. The thing was still like not fully out of the water yet. Like this was a
Oh my
huge
gosh.
otter. And I just remember like yelling at it at that point, and I think it just like swam away. I never saw it again after that. And so I was just trying to crawl up the bank of the river. I mean, it was pretty high, like trying to just crawl up and away from the water as fast as possible.
Was it
Uh,
just the one otter?
we don't know. We're not sure.
Eh,
I mean, the extent of our injuries, like I had one with me the entire time, but Stephanie had multiple bites on her. Leila had scratches and bites on her. So I don't know how in that time it could have just been the one, but we don't fully know because it was just chaos.
but what do you think spooked this thing? I mean, it had to have been more than one, right? Because it was like a mom protecting its.
Yeah, I get that's been a couple of things that we've heard is maybe it had pups nearby and it was protecting them. And some of the research that I've done is that's the time of year where they'd have their babies out and they're like teaching them how to swim. So there's a chance it was very protective, you know, kind of maternal instinct. It could have been bachelor groups, a bunch of aggressive male otters together defending their territory. It could have been like a really rich food source, like a lot of fish nearby, and it thought that we were a threat. Or there's a chance that they were rabid. We don't know.
Oh my gosh. So what were the other two? What were you doing? Stephanie and Leila, what were you guys doing? Tell
Steph,
me
you
your
want to
side of
go
the
or?
story. Yeah.
Yeah, I can go. Um, I think, like Jen said initially, it was fairly chaotic. We were just floating, and I felt something bite me underneath the water, and I kind of like screamed and was like, what could that have been? Like, we're used to floating and floating over sharp rocks, and that hurts, but this felt very different, and I knew something had bit me. And so I kind of screamed, and about that time, I see Jen looking over to the right side of me. And by the time I can turn my head to see what it is, it barely registers. I know it's something in the water, but I'm like, I'm kind of playing in my mind, what is it? What is it? What is it? Because it's not making sense to me. And then about that time, when Jen and I are both realizing that is something there, it just kind of comes after me and it pops my tube and I go into the water. And that's when I'm just kind of fighting with it. I got some scratches and some bites, and all this time, the water's really deep where we were at, and so I couldn't touch. And so I thought, if I could just get to the bottom and kind of push back up, I might be able to fight it off. And of course, you like to think that you're going to handle things differently when you get to a situation like this, but you don't really know until you get there. And in that initial moment, I panicked and I was just kind of like flailing my arms, and there was no real strategy, right? Like I was just trying to get away from this thing. And then that's when I thought, okay, you need to think of something to do here, try and touch the bottom. So I was trying to get to the bottom to come back up and push it off of me. And about that time, it disappears, like it leaves me alone. So I'm able to kind of come up for air. And I'm pretty sure I told the girls, I was like, I came up out of the water and I was like, help! Because I wasn't really understanding what was happening. I knew I was being attacked, but it just didn't make any sense. And about that time is when Jen leans back kind of in her tube away, and that's when she ends up falling over. And so she and I are both in the water, and it's chaotic. We're just screaming and trying to get away.
So you're out of your tubes at this point?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so we're in the water and I can feel, something at my feet. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go again. So I'm just like kicking my feet, trying to figure out where I'm going to go. And the whole time I can see Jen swimming in the opposite direction, trying to get away. And finally I find a rock in the middle of the river and I just get on it. I just climbed up on it, and stood there so that I could see what was around me. And then at this point, we're just watching Jen trying to get across to the other side of the river, and she's just being attacked, and there was nothing.
So you guys have a vantage. Both of you are safely out of the water at this point?
Yes.
And then you've got like this vantage point of your friend being attacked.
Yeah.
Yes.
How long did it take for her to get from that point to the point where she was out of the water?
A good couple minutes for sure.
Minutes?
It felt like it.
Oh my gosh.
It felt like forever because we were just kind of watching and saying, kind of screaming at her, which doesn't help, but screaming at Jen, saying, Jen, get out of the water.
No, it actually did help because I could hear them and I knew it was bad and I knew they were there, and it did make me want to fight harder. So it did help. I might not feel like it didn't, but it did.
It was terrifying. Once I turned around, there was an otter just swimming right after her. And I was there. No, there's nothing that we could do. We were on the other side. So it's kind of feel helpless at that point in time.
When you guys are all out of the river, are you on opposite sides of the river, or did you all make it to the same side?
Stephanie and I made it to the same side. I made it out of the water and on top of where the train tracks were. And then Jen was on the total opposite.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I was
in
the water on a rock.
Yeah.
You were in the water on a rock, kind of in the river somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Did you have cell service?
The only person that brought a phone was me, because we didn't think we were going to need a phone really. So I had my phone and my keys in a dry bag. And luckily I stopped taking pictures when I did because my phone was all pretty much dead by the time 911 had gotten there. I was on the phone with them for about 53 minutes.
Okay, so you had a cell signal to be able to make...
I had to do SOS.
It was satellite.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay, so
Yes.
you had an iPhone and you did the SOS thing?
Yeah.
Wow. What do you think would have happened if that wasn't available?
Oh,
I probably would have ran to the campsite down the way. It was right by this place called Lewis and Clark Caverns. Can't say how far away that would have been, a couple miles or so. So probably try to find some people there camping that maybe they could help drive me to wherever I needed to go to get help. There was also a bar further down the road, a bar restaurant that I could have went to, but again, like another at least 10 miles down the road. So
oh my gosh. Was this really remote where you guys were at for the most part?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far had you guys been floating? Do you know?
I think it was about 3.5 miles.
Oh, wow.
And the whole float, I think, was about 7.
Were you part? This was like on your own, right? This wasn't a part of a larger group. This was just you guys deciding to go float down the river kind of thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah, normally
right.
you park at like where you put in, and then you have another vehicle and you park where you get out, and then you kind of just shuttle each other back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's something like the Madison River here is the more popular one, but that's where everyone goes. There's a lot of drunk driving and like kind of obnoxious, younger people. And so we didn't want that. We just wanted it to be kind of like a mature lady hangout. It was safe driving. I
All
don't
right.
know.
Yeah.
Got you. So, Stephanie, you're at this rock.
Mhm.
You're on this rock. Tell me what's happening, what you're seeing.
Well, all my attention is focused on Jen as she's trying to get across the river and out. And the whole time, she's just being attacked. So you can see everything that's happening. Like, literally, when this thing is biting her, you can see the blood just coming off of her face or wherever it's biting her. And honestly, I was just screaming. Like, I didn't know what
Oh my
else to
gosh.
do. And it towards the end, where she was getting close to the shore, um, or the bank, she had turned her back. She had her back to it. And that's when I could see that the otter had literally come up out of the water and put its claws right into the back of her head. And you could see that so vividly. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like is this going to take her completely down? Because she was so close. And you could see it when because it came out of the water, and you could see, it brought its little big claws forward, and you could still. And Jen, at this point, she's probably out of the water, about up to her waist, and you could see maybe the base of its tail. So it was really
Oh my
long, at
gosh.
least the width of her or the length of her body, and then maybe it looked like the base of the tail. And so I remember thinking, gosh, this thing is huge. And about that time, she kind of, I think, Jen, you have to correct me. I don't know if this is when you turned around and tried to hold it. At some point, somewhere in there, that happens and you kind of fall back. But at that point, it just swims off.
I think
And
that's when it was like, I, it's a little fuzzy at that point, but I feel like it almost had kind of gotten under me or to the side of me, or I don't know. And I yelled at it like
mhm.
really loud. And then I just remember it disappearing. I don't know.
Were you
And I
able to
think,
like kick or hit it at all?
no, no, not at that point. Well, maybe, I don't know. Like my hair was all in front of my face. So that's why I kind of don't remember how things look, because it was just such a disheveled mess and I had just blood everywhere. So my vision wasn't like super great. Um, I might have tried to hit it. I honestly I don't remember.
Oh my gosh. Have you guys seen otters before?
No,
Not in the water,
yeah, not in the wild.
in the zoo.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, so they're not like common there at all.
I mean, they are, but normally, like during the day, you don't really see them as much. But we were, it was getting evening kind of dusk. So I guess they're more of a nocturnal type animal. So I think that's why they were there. But normally, I think they just kind of stay in their dens during the day.
Okay.
So no, haven't really seen one in the wild before. Maybe once in the
Okay.
drift boat going down the river, but
So now you're out of the water. Obviously, you guys are on different locations. What's happening next?
uh, I remember I got up to the top and I just remember like trying to yell back to them, because this was a really wide stretch of river too. It wasn't like we could just like easily cross it to each other. It was pretty wide. And I just remember yelling, um, this is where you're gonna have to bleep. I remember saying, I'm so fed up. I'm so fed up. This is bad. This is really bad. And they're like trying to call 911. And I remember Leila, like I knew that we had SOS and we didn't have service, and I knew that was bad and worrisome. And I remember when she managed to connect, it seemed like there was an issue with them even being able to kind of ping our location to even know where to send people. Um, so then I was hearing that and like thinking, this really sucks. Um, and I just remember Leela saying, you need to send a plane, you need to send a boat, you need to send a
Oh
like
my
everything. She
gosh.
was like, you need to get here now. And that was really awesome. But it was really terrifying being on the one side in the state that I was. and no one being with me, and knowing that my friends, my safety, the road even that someone would have to come in to get me was on their side, and
Oh my
I'm like
gosh.
out in the wilderness
Yeah.
with tumbleweeds and rocks and no roads to come to
Yeah.
me. And that was really like awful.
So how did they get to you? How long did it take?
uh
So
53 minutes.
I was on the phone with dispatch for 53 minutes before anybody could get to us. I also had to run probably maybe a mile, 2 miles down the train tracks, just because there was a huge mound where we were at. And so people from the road definitely could not see us. So I had turned my camera light on and was kind of doing this number, and jumping up and down, screaming for help, because I could see the ambulance driving by a couple different times, but I don't think they could figure out how to get to us, because it was on like private property and there was no like roads down there. You kind of just had to do your own four-wheeling to get down there. So that was a lot more difficult. And then, of course, I was the first person that they reached, and I sent them down to Stephanie, and they actually had to swim across the river to get to Jen, and then be able to land life flight when they got there as well. So it was kind of quite the process. I don't even think you got out of there till what, 9:45, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
What's the time frame? How many hours is that from when it happened?
So I think it was like 8:30.
It was about an hour and 15 minutes, I think, after the attack happened.
When it happened, yeah.
Wow.
So when Leila was on the phone, she was also throwing rocks into the river to try and, because Stephanie's still out on this rock, this famous rock now. She's standing out there, and Leila's throwing rocks in just to try and help keep anything away from her in case it decided to come back. So when Leila had to leave to go out to the road, we had to get Stephanie out of the water because no one was going to be helping defend her anymore. And so that was obviously incredibly scary. You know, the water is not a safe place anymore. Yet we're like, Steph, you got to get back in that water. Like, you have to be super brave. You got to run as fast as you freaking can. You got to climb that hill. And she did, and she was able to. Lost
With
a shoe in the process, and
with one shoe.
but she got up the hill.
Oh my gosh!
And
how big was the rock you were on?
I mean, it was a good size rock. Like, I don't know. It was big. It was big enough for me to like stand on there or lay on it.
Oh wow!
Because I kind of did do that initially because I was so out of breath and energy by the time I got to this rock. I literally just kind of flung the top half of my body on it for like a hot second, and then I was like, I have to get my feet out of this water. And so finally I kind of jumped up on it, and I stood there until Leila was gone trying to get us help, and Jen and I were talking back and forth, and I was telling her, I'm so scared, I don't want to do it. And I said, but it's getting dark, and I'm going to be out here on this rock. So she was like, just do it. And I think she told me to run really fast, which is kind of hard in water where you can't touch. So it's kind of like swimming, running, trying really hard to get
shallow or not.
Oh my gosh!
I tried so hard to just go as fast as I could, and where Leila got up on this embankment, there's no like real like shore line on our side, and so Leila just scrambled up this little, she calls it a mound. I say, yeah, I guess it was. But she scrambles up this on her hands and her knees. You know, she's like trying to get up. And so when I'm getting off the rock trying to get to this place, there's nowhere really for me to stand. So I'm trying to like lean halfway on the side of this mound thing so that my feet aren't in the water, because the water is right up to the bank on our side. And so I stayed there until someone could come help me. And I would have climbed up, but I couldn't because I had one shoe, my foot was a little messed up, and my hand was pretty messed up. And so I couldn't really use the hand. to try and get up that embankment. So I just stayed there.
Oh my gosh. Jen, what was the extent of your injuries?
Um, I had two huge bite marks here. It had bit my nose, something in my lip, my eye over here. This ear was split in half. This ear is mostly missing now.
Oh my gosh.
And then just like bite marks on my hands and legs and feet and fingers and like everywhere. Just not on my back, nowhere on my back, but all the front and on my legs and hands or
How long
arms.
was it attacking you, do you think? Like from start to finish?
It feels like forever. Maybe a couple minutes. I don't. Maybe 1 minute. I don't know. It feels
Did
like
this
so
whole thing
long.
feel like slow motion to you?
Yeah, yeah. Because it's like your brain's trying to process, like what Stephanie said earlier. Your brain's so slow to catch up that I just remember feeling really confused in the beginning, not fully understanding the severity of what was going on. Um, in a way, like kind of thinking it just bit and it was going to go away. And I was very confused by the fact that it just continued to happen because I felt like I was being very defensive in the water, trying to fight back. And my brain couldn't understand why I kept feeling pain every time I tried to like kick or hit.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
it just like kind of slowly caught up and it was like, oh, that's because it's defending itself also. Um, so I don't know, a minute to two.
I feel it seems like there had to have been more than one. That just blows my
Yeah,
mind.
it
There's no
feels like
way.
it. Yeah, I don't know.
So what has life been like for you all since this has happened, and what was the recovery like?
Why don't you guys start? I've been talking.
I ended up doing some EMDR work for some counseling just because I was feeling pretty hopeless after that and feeling helpless from being able to get back in the water and get over to the other side to help Jen. But if I am hurt, I can't help anybody else. So I had to keep that realization. But just the whole going back to like watching when she turned around, when she got to the shore, I just remember seeing, it was like a horror movie where blood just was like coming down her face. And I was like thinking that she was going to die. So that kind of just kept on replay for me for a while. So I did do some of the EMDR work and it helped tremendously. And then being in the water again is definitely a whole different change because I'll never be the same. Always looking over your back and thinking that something's in the water going to get you. And then definitely got a dive knife. And I'll never be alone without
Wow.
some kind of protection after that because you never know. I've floated a long time and I've never felt like I had to protect myself from anything. And so, yeah.
I guess I, yeah, I really struggled after the fact for quite a while, I'd say. I think for a lot of reasons, right? You think, like, initially I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. Like, there was a moment in the water where I honestly thought, yeah, I'm gonna die. And initially I had been fighting, and then this feeling just kind of came over me, like a calmness, and it was like, this is it. And um, after I had that thought, I was like, no, I don't know if this can be it. And so I started fighting more. And by the time I get out, I get to the rock, I realize I'm okay. I'm probably going to be okay. But now I'm watching my friend fight her way across the river, and I'm thinking, honestly, that she's going to die. And I think that was really hard because then, of course, like Leila said, like we couldn't be with her. And so we didn't know how bad she was really hurt. Um, and as the night went on and it's getting darker and she's getting weaker and I'm trying to talk to her, she, slowed speech, and
Oh, geez.
her volume gets lower and lower, and it takes her sometimes a while to respond to me. And so, of course, when she's not responding to me, I'm freaking out. And, I was just thinking, gosh, we have to get someone to her because I don't want anything to happen to her, right? So in those moments, I'm thinking all of these things. And then after, we get out, we get to safety, and I get to see what Jen, when we get to the hospital. And, I'm so thankful that she's alive, that we're all alive. And, but after that, I kind of had this thought like, we won't be the same. And not that I want to hold on to that, but I knew our lives would be different. Um, and so I really struggled with thinking I was going to die, thinking I was watching my friend die. And so I've definitely, had to do some therapy around that. And I still really struggle with things that come up in the peripheral.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
panic, and I try so hard not to because I'm trying to tell myself I'm safe. But I really freak out when I see something coming towards me in the peripheral. And yes, I definitely freak out over that. And I still don't like being in the dark where I can't see anything around my feet. That really freaks me out still. I really still
Even
struggle with,
indoors?
I'm sorry,
Even indoors?
indoors is not as bad, but like, I think I told the girls this. I said, I was taking the trash down at night, something I've done a million times. And after that, I seriously had like a panic attack coming just maybe, I don't know, 30 feet from my house, bringing this trash down at dark because I couldn't see my feet. I couldn't see
Yeah.
what could come out towards me. And so I
Yeah.
have a lot of moments like that where I'm very panicked about not being able to see what could get me or something that might be coming at me from the side. So I still really struggle with that.
I mean, it sounds like PTSD.
Yes.
Hmm. So what would and you could talk about this if you want to, but I heard you guys had some backlash from it being an otter and people saying terrible things. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, we'd get people to say things like hashtag Team Otter. They tell us to go fund ourselves. I remember one person one time on a news article said, Jen Royce, munch, munch, munch. Um, just people calling us like stupid tourists, that we were trying to take selfies with the otters. And I think in this area, it's fairly common to get those stupid tourist stories, like down in Yellowstone when people are trying to like put bison in the back of their car, or
Yeah. Right.
what, like it's normal. People get gored by bison because they're trying to take selfies or whatever. So people hear this story and it sounds so ridiculous, or at least out of the norm, and people are just so quick to rush to a judgment because it's so safe behind a screen, typing away with your little fingers on your phone or a computer, and you can say whatever the heck you want. um, but we're not tourists. We live here. We've floated the rivers a gazillion times. We recreate, we camp, we hike, we take precautions, if we're going to be in bear country or whatever. It's just, it was wrong place, wrong time. And, the keyboard warriors just had a lot of fun with it. And what's hard is not only are we reading the comments, but my parents are reading them, our friends are reading them, our family. Like, it's not just us that was victimized like this. Like, my parents had to get a phone call in the middle of the night that I was in the emergency room and getting surgery, and they had no clue if I was okay or what the hell happened. My husband's across the country in Maryland getting a phone call in the middle of the night that I had to be life flighted to the hospital from this animal attack. And, everyone was hurt by it. And I'm not trying to leave out Leila and Stephanie's situations, because all of our families had this happen. But it's so frustrating because we would never be the type to criticize other people, um, in a time where you're hurting the most and you're struggling the most, and then people's hatred and their judgment, it seems so cruel and unfair when you're literally struggling for your life and trying to recover. um yeah, it really pisses me off. My friend shouldn't hurt by reading comments off of something that happened to us that was a very tragic situation.
Well, otters aren't cute and cuddly like people think they are.
Right.
At least what I've
Definitely not.
read.
Yeah.
They're horribly vicious animals, and I've interviewed a lot of people that have had animal attacks, and every single solitary one, even the grizzly bear attack ones, have had trolls commenting and saying horrible things about them. So you're not alone. But you guys all seem like incredibly strong women to me. So I can't imagine that this was, and obviously you live in Montana. You're outdoorsy people. This was an extremely freak incident, right? You're floating down a river, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not doing anything wrong. You're not like where you're technically not supposed to be. You're in the water. You're safe, right? You're quote unquote safe, and then just something happens, right?
Yeah.
Definitely a freak accident.
Yeah.
So what was the recovery process for all your injuries?
You guys want to start? Mine will be a lengthy explanation.
I didn't take too long, probably maybe a week. I just had a bite on my left palm and then left hip, buttocks area, and a couple sutures on my palm. So probably like a week to 2 weeks for healing. And then also having to deal with, we got rabies shots also. So that was fun having to go back for those. So my process wasn't nearly as close to intense as the other two.
I was going to say, I'm not sure that mine was super intense. I think, honestly, yes, I had physical injuries, but I would definitely say the mental piece was harder for me. So yeah, my hand was pretty injured. And so I just
Well,
needed.
Thumb was shredded. She's being
Oh my gosh.
very modest right now.
Yeah,
They couldn't even keep her thumb shut because of how open and how much skin was missing. So she almost had to get a skin graft. Stephanie.
Yeah, my thumb
my gosh.
It was messed up, but we got some stitches in there. That was good. And the rest of, my injuries were just like what looked like claw marks, and like you could tell where it had put its claws just kind of on the skin and punctured holes in it. And so there was not really a way to like suture that. And so they just kind of had to just let them heal on their own. My hand struggled a little bit to heal. And it was one of those things where I couldn't really bend my thumb all the way. And they told me that I might need PT to like fix that. Luckily, within a year, it was fine. It functions normal. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, as far as physical injuries, that was it. And we did have to do our rabies vaccines. And
did they think it had rabies?
They weren't sure.
No, Fish and Wildlife didn't go out and do any kind of investigation. And this is where my blood pressure is going to rise again. Sorry, I'll get on my soapbox for a minute.
Get on it. Go for it.
But I was called the day after, excuse me, driving home from a follow-up with my surgeon. And I got a phone call from Fish and Wildlife. And they wanted to talk about the incident and had some questions for me. And my husband was on the phone with me at the same time, so he could hear everything. But we asked if there was going to be an investigation done, if they were going to go out, because we were being treated for rabies, whether they had rabies or not, we don't know. And the response to my husband was that because it was a one-off situation, they didn't think it was necessary to do an investigation. And our response was, isn't that the type that you would want to investigate? Because grizzly bears get euthanized for way less than what these things did to us. I mean, they get into trash in a residential area and they'll euthanize them. These things actually attacked people, and they said that they weren't going to investigate it. So I was also asked, or I was told, if I could have just stayed on my tube, my injuries wouldn't have been as bad as they were.
Wait, they told you that?
They told
Like it
me
was
that.
somehow your fault?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Oh.
So, yeah. And I'm not going to lie, when we're floating down the river, normally you drink beer. I had a beer or two. I don't remember. But, and the guy asked, well, how much do you think drinking alcohol had to do with your attack?
Why does that matter? Like, exactly, why does that matter?
I'm pretty sure if it mattered, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. And it was just such horrible victim blaming or shaming or whatever you want to call it, and completely unacceptable. Yeah, that's not the phone call you want to get the next day. My husband's a first responder. Leila used to be a first responder, and she's a nurse. You don't talk to victims like that after such a horrible event. So that was less than ideal.
Have you guys been back out to where it happened?
I've driven by once or twice. There is no signs of aggressive otters anywhere on either end where you put in or take out, which I was told that there used to be a sign there and they were going to put a sign there, and still a year later and then some, still not any signs of anything, which apparently this happens at least once a year, not necessarily for people, but definitely aggression to dogs. And I also, being fishing out in the Big Hole, I actually ran into a sign that said, beware, there are aggressive otters in the area. So I don't know why somebody couldn't put one up where we were at. There was a friend of ours that went not floating, but in a boat down the river a week after we had went, and they also had otters come up to the boat. So
wow, were they aggressive?
They didn't say. So I'm assuming no, but I mean, they had a metal boat, so that's helpful. So yeah, definitely some disappointment in the situation there.
I got messages from people following our attack that said they had just, kayaked with their kids in that same area the week before. They were attacked by otters, the otters came towards them and they batted them away with their oars. And the one lady reached out to me, said she did report it to Fish and Wildlife.
So are you saying that nothing has been done since this to protect people further from these potential otter attacks from happening in the future? Is that what you're telling me right now?
We read from news articles that they had signs up, but we were out there. We did a thing with Inside Edition a couple months after our attack, and there weren't any signs up in the areas they said they were up.
Why do you think that is?
Do you
think it's lazy? Do you think it's like animal protection people? I mean, all of the above?
Well, the news said it was Fish and Wildlife that was going to take them out there, and I think that's their job duty, so I don't know why they didn't do it.
Wow. That blows my mind that is the case. That, I mean, if they're watching, you guys need to get a clue, because that blows my mind that somebody would, there's multiple situations where there's encounters with aggressive otters and there's nothing being done as far as like warning people or going after and trying to euthanize these things or something. That sounds amazing.
Earlier this year, people were talking about aggressive otters in that same stretch that we were at. And someone even commented on the post like, oh yeah, a girl and her friends got attacked by rivers last year or the year before. So even as current as this spring, people were talking about aggressive otters in that same area. I don't know if there's signs out there now. I haven't been to the area. But there weren't when we were out there before. So
wow. That's amazing. Do you feel like this whole situation has what's it done to your relationships overall? Has it brought you closer? Has it what's the change been like?
Definitely closer. I feel like we keep a close contact and eye on each other for situations, and just talking about our feelings and getting together and
Yeah.
doing a yearly thing too. And
Yeah, on the 1 year anniversary, we went out and floated the
Oh,
other
you
river.
did. You
Yeah, we
did.
did. We wanted to kind of face our fear and not let this whole situation
Wow.
define us and keep us out of the water. So we went to the Madison, the one with the drunk, immature people I talked about. But
Yeah, they
safety
can
in
get eaten by
numbers.
an animal, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So no, we did. We went out on the 1 year anniversary, and then we had a big barbecue celebration afterwards where we invited everyone who donated to our GoFundMe's or helped bring meals or whatever, and we just put on this big party just to kind of say thank you to everyone who helped us along the way. Because you were talking about, like what's recovery been like. The support of our friends and family, and even honestly complete strangers. I mean, I had people reaching out that wanted to send us all like homemade scar creams and
That's
lotions
cool.
and scar removing, whatever, and they just wanted to help people we don't even know.
Yeah.
And it's been really great, and I think, to outweigh all the negative stuff, there was an overwhelming amount of goodness. And it was kind of refreshing to see that in humanity, because the world's definitely kind of going downhill, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So to be surrounded by so much kindness, and especially from strangers that don't even know you. I mean, I've met so many more neighbors in my subdivision because our meal train was shared, and people would just bring us meals or drop off granola bars and drinks and fruit for my kids, or, whatever. It's like, it was just, people are, yeah, they're shitty sometimes, but they're also really, really kind and considerate and just generous and loving. And I think that's really awesome.
If you could go back, I ask everybody this, but if you could go back and remove this whole situation from ever happening, would you do it?
I don't know
Yes
that I
and
would.
no. I'd like to have my ear back.
Yeah. Well, I'd like
But
my ears to shrink because they're freaking huge, but that's all right.
but no, I mean, honestly, I was in a really dark place kind of before it happened, because I had this really bad view of people and the world, and it totally changed my perspective on that. And I think in ways I don't mean like save my life, like I was, gonna die, but it changed like just my whole outlook and perspective on life in general and people. And I truly think that in some ways this happened for a reason, kind of a wake up call. Um, but I wouldn't want my family to go through it. I certainly wouldn't want these ladies here to have the memories that are etched in their brain. um the mental piece is so serious, more so than the physical part. I mean, wounds heal with time, their scars, whatever, they tell a story, but the mental stuff, you just can't, it's really hard to get past. And that's the stuff that we really have to live with for the rest of our life. So
Yeah, for sure. Stephanie, Leila.
I don't. I mean, yes, there are parts I wouldn't want to happen. I wouldn't want Jen to be as hurt as she frickin' was. I wouldn't want Jen to be as hurt as she was. Um, I don't know. I feel bad saying no. Like I wouldn't change. I wouldn't take it back, or only because I think of what it's done for the three of us. Like we've grown in different ways as individuals, and then obviously together. And I think that was really good for us. I mean, yes, it was terrible, and I hate that it happened, but I think what it did for the three of us and the way we think and seeing just how strong we are, I
Yeah.
think was also a really good thing for us.
and you also want me to have my ear back.
I do want you to have your ear back. I don't want you to be as hurt as you were. Yeah.
I'm gonna say no. And as much as a lot of it was not good, it's a learning curve, and we're getting the word out there for other people. And now I am prepared again for some kind of situation that I might have a knife later to help protect myself and friends otherwise.
I think the other part of it too that has come out of it is just the awareness. Like when you guys reached out to do this podcast, the one thing we've said is, we want to do these because if it helps save one person, then our story was worth it. It was really hard in the beginning because we would have media reach out like the next day, and they're wanting to do interviews and they're wanting pictures, and it's like you really have no respect for us or what happened. You just want a good story for clickbait. But the more that we've moved past or talked more, or entertained these ideas, we see the value in sharing our story, because so many people have reached out, even where they're like, I'll never look at otters the same, or I know now to be more prepared for the worst case, if it comes up, or I'm going to take a floating oar or a rafting oar with me if I'm floating, just in case I need to fend something off. And
That's a
and
good
those
idea.
stories are great, because they're not stories yet. It's
Yeah.
it's precaution, and that's why if people can learn from us and what happened and not be in the same situation, or not be as badly injured, or whatever, it's a win.
Yeah.
So yeah, in a way I am not glad it happened, but I'm glad that we can make something useful out of our situation, out of such tragedy and horror.
Yeah. Yep. I maybe you don't know this, but I had my own survival situation. That's kind of why I do these podcasts, and I would not remove it either out of my own situation, because it's definitely. I feel like those, like you said, makes you stronger, makes you better prepared, matures you. Definitely inflated my spiritual life for sure, and so I feel like those are always huge positives. Is there anything else that you guys want to share at all? Quick, anything we left out? And then you were like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I hope we
I,
answered
I want to
this."
say something for sure. I just want to draw attention to my heroes. I have three, well, five if I include Leila and Stephanie. But so when Leila was running out to the road, um, there were some neighbors, or people that lived out, landowners that lived out there, that could actually hear our screaming, and they could see the lights. And his name is Doug. He's awesome. Doug went down to talk to the first responders to see what was going on, if he could help in any way. They were able to kind of show him a general area of where they thought they needed to go. And so he just hopped in his gator with a first responder and a medic bag, and they went down to this fence area. They actually had to take down the wooden posts so that they could drive the ambulance through. They go, like one of the ladies said earlier, they're basically four-wheeling out there to get to us. Leela's telling them where to go. There was a highway patrol trooper, her name was Barb, who followed in her car. And I heard when she went in her car, like the muffler ripped off and like all this body damage to this highway patrol car. Thank you, MHP. Um, but they came out. Well, Life Flight couldn't land until someone was on the other side of the river with me. So Barb and Doug looked at each other, and, they said, "Hey, you got your gun?" And Barb said, "Yes, I do." And they just, without even thinking about it, jumped in the water with Doug's dog, Rose, and they swam across to me. And like I said, this is a wide stretch of river. That was no easy feat, in full gear,
And it was
full muck
very
boots,
dark.
very dark. And they swam the river to me. And as soon as they got to my side, that life flight helicopter landed. I mean, it was
Wow.
almost instant. So had they not have just chosen bravery and self-sacrifice. Not think like the story would have been different had Doug not have gone down to see if he could help. It would have been different. So
Wow.
without them, this story would have ended quite differently. And then my third hero is my nurse Andy, who took care of me in the hospital. She was just amazing and such a blessing because I didn't have anyone with me. My parents couldn't be there for a while after surgery. So it was really just Andy and I for a while. And I asked her if she would help wash the blood out of my hair. That was the only thing I wanted. So she washed my hair for me and then she braided it until my husband and my parents got there later in the afternoon. But it's funny how small of a world we actually live in because Andy and I are now soccer moms together. Her daughter and my daughter are both freshmen playing on the same soccer team. And it's just really, really neat that I have this wonderful angel in my life still.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and I do believe things happen for a reason. And so I just wanted to call out them because they're a big part of just the story, a really big part of it.
Well, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I actually get really nervous when I do this kind of stuff because I know what a large. I should say I don't get nervous. I get anxiety because I know how important it is to share your story, and I want to be able to give you every opportunity to tell it as effectively as you can. Because I do hear from everyone that I talk to that how therapeutic it is, like you mentioned, to be able to share and tell this story. Because when you guys go back and watch this, you're going to feel stronger. You're going to look back and be like, yeah, okay, I got just a little bit stronger in that instant, in that moment. And so I think that's really cool. So thank you for allowing me to be able to do that for you. And I personally think you guys are super strong women. And I think those trolls can go in the river with the otter. And yeah, you guys are awesome. So appreciate you guys. And yeah, thanks so much.